Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
A record crowd filled the indoor football facility for the Alabama Athletics Department's 13th annual Halloween extravaganza on Monday night. The event, put on by the UA Student Athlete Advisory Committee, brought more than 1,000 members of the Tuscaloosa community together with students from all of the Crimson Tide's teams. The Alabama student athletes and their young fans, most in a variety of costumes, played games throughout the facility, with each team hosting its own activity. And with that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. Tonight, we are drinking ice cold regular Pepsi. Just going full flavor tonight. Man, that is good right there, and refreshing. Pick up some Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store, courtesy of Buffalo Rock. Well, Rod, Alabama has an off week, of course, coming up, badly needed after 8 straight games. And, of course, LSU is down the road November 7th. We know that. But we're going to start by what happened this past Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The Tennessee Volunteers rolled into Bryant-Denny Stadium on a mission after losing 8 straight to Alabama, coming off a bye week, and they played a heck of a ball game. The good news is, though, that Alabama got the victory, pulling it out 19-14. So the Tide 7-1 through the first 2/3 of the season. But this win was a struggle, much like 2009.
Yeah, that's kind of what we thought it would be, Gary. In fact, leading into the game, the timing of it all just really matched up with 2009. Kind of that same type of scenario. Tennessee, an improving team, coming off a bye week, had a big win over Georgia in their last game. Alabama, really kind of a gassed football team, had a stretch of 8 straight games, not had a week off. And Tennessee caught Alabama coming off those 3 really big games, and it was pretty clear that Alabama did not have the energy, the enthusiasm necessarily that you do when you're real fresh. And Tennessee came in. You have to give them credit, Gary. They're extremely well prepared. They had a great plan for Alabama. They played fantastic on both sides of the ball. But when it came down to it, it's like I really thought that Alabama eventually would show that it was the better team.
Well, it did, and it made plays that it had to make. And Jake Coker, I thought, Rodney, really stepped up when Tennessee took the 14-13 lead with 5 minutes to go, and he took his team on a 75-yard drive to win the football game. A couple of big back shoulder throws to Stewart and Ridley, but maybe the biggest play of the drive on first down, he should have been sacked for about a 15-yard loss, and somehow he got it back close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Gary, that may have been the play of the drive. You mentioned that on your radio show the other day when we were on, and it really was. It turned maybe a 15-yard loss into a 2-yard loss and set up the next play, which is a 29-yard completion to Ardarius Stewart that kind of got the drive really going. And as you mentioned, Calvin Ridley made a fantastic catch down the left sideline, and the offensive line that got some criticism after the game really came up big in that drive, protected well, opened some holes for Derrick Henry, who had the touchdown run. And when you look at those last 2 drives, Gary, you're talking about Alabama's drive after Tennessee went up right here. Jalen Hurd, 5:29 left in the game. First time Tennessee's been up on Alabama in at least 5 years. And, it looked not too good, but Alabama took it 71 yards. But then it was left up to the defense, which had just been burned on a 75-yard drive on the previous possession by Tennessee. And they really came up big. Jonathan Allen with a huge sack, and then the sack by Ryan Anderson that forced the fumble. And A'Shawn Robinson made a fantastic athletic play. There's the sack by Jonathan Allen right there. And then the sack by Ryan Anderson, as you see him coming off the edge right here. And watch A'Shawn Robinson. He was a tremendous high school basketball player. You see the athleticism there. He was going for the end zone, Gary.
Yeah, Alabama wins it, and that's the bottom line. Nick Saban said afterwards, hey, we were a tired team. Wasn't making excuses, gave Tennessee a lot of credit, just pointed out a fact that they were tired. But Bama gets the win. All right, Rod, it's time now for our Atrox Factory horrific play of the game. And I don't think there's any doubt that the horrific play of the game for Tennessee, which wears orange, which is a Halloween color, was when linebacker Ryan Anderson stripped the ball from Tennessee's quarterback Joshua Dobbs. And here it is. We saw it earlier with the game on the line. Anderson drills Dobbs. A'Shawn Robinson is there. Of course, we're saying it's the horrific play of the game for the team in orange and white. For the team in red, it was pretty sweet. Alabama gets the win, 19-14. That is our Atrox Factory horrific play of the game. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television tonight, we are going to take you live to Coleman Coliseum, where the men's and women's basketball teams are getting ready to kick off their seasons, or tip off, I guess I should say. They got a big event out there. And there you see Jen Chapman standing by with Antoine Petway. And also tonight, we will take your emails, phone calls, and you can tweet at us as well, 205-348-9882. Or email us at TITV@WVUA23.com, or you can reach us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back right after this. The Alabama women's soccer team fell to Mississippi State 2-1 Sunday in their last home game of the season. MSU would get on the board first, but the Tide came back to even things up with a score by Haley Brohoff from a rebounded penalty kick. Alabama could not hold off Mississippi State, though, from scoring the game-winning goal with a little over 10 minutes remaining. Alabama's season, though, isn't over. They will head to Arkansas to take on the Razorbacks Thursday. Even in the loss, history was made at the 50-minute mark. Abby Lutzenkirchen became the all-time leader in minutes played in Alabama soccer history. Well, it's time now for our weekly Coach Speak segment, brought to you each and every week by Med Center. Here now is Nick Saban and Les Miles.
You know, we've had quite a few games like that. What we try to do is, you know, to get the players to keep the main thing, all right, which is how you play in the game. That's the most important thing, not the hype surrounding the game. You know, it's your preparation, how you practice, how you prepare for the game, how you focus when the time comes on having the discipline to do your job well so that your team has the best chance to be successful. And you know, that's what we want, you know, our players to do. Now, can they all do it? Does it have some effect on them sometimes? I can't tell you that it doesn't.
This is really about the perfect time to take it. Late in the year, you know, you've played, you know, several weeks in a row, and you know, there's some fatigue. I think it's a safety issue. I think that the NC2A should understand it as a time where we all should take breaks, because I think it's just our kids get worn down late in the season, and then, you know, they kind of re-gear and charge your batteries, and I think it works.
And the good thing here, you don't have to worry about who gets the advantage from a bye week, Rodney, because they both have one.
Yeah. And, you know, Alabama's been at the disadvantage. We've talked about that quite a bit. You know, the last, 3 or 4 opponents have had bye weeks before Alabama. You could really tell it last week, Gary, in that game against Tennessee, what the advantage was.
Well, they should be fresh-legged for the Tigers, and, of course, LSU the same way for Alabama. Well, tonight, both the men's and women's basketball teams are officially tipping off the season with Tide tip-off. We take you now to Coleman Coliseum, where our Jen Chapman is getting in on all the excitement. Jen?
Gary and Rodney, the atmosphere here is electric, and the fans haven't even got to see the teams yet. Now we hear over the speaker they're getting ready. Joining me is Antoine Petway. Antoine, last time we talked, we were under very different circumstances. You didn't even know who would be the next head coach, if you would be staying here. What have the last few months been like for you?
Man, just a blessing. The excitement around the program, man, is great. I mean, you see how many students in the stands here tonight, man. It's just, like you said, it's electric in here tonight. So, man, it's just been a great experience.
I got to tell you, I watched practice a couple weeks ago, and aside from seeing the guys make a lot more shots, I noticed something else. There were a lot more smiles. There was a lot more laughter. It looks like you guys are having fun.
Yeah, the guys are definitely having fun, and with this younger group, man, you know, they are definitely receptive to what we're trying to get them to do. So it's been a great experience. So it's going good.
What's it been like for you to coach with Avery Johnson? How has he influenced you as a coach?
Oh, man, he's just a great guy. Not only is he a great coach, he's a great person as well. So I'm just a sponge, man, just learning every single day and, man, enjoying myself.
I got to say, Antoine is a legend for Alabama. I was just telling him off camera, I went to the doctor's office and there was a mural of him in the office I was at. So for you and being a part of Alabama basketball, you bleed crimson. What does this mean to have this kind of excitement surrounding the program?
Man, it feels so good, you know, not just from a coaching standpoint, but from a former player standpoint, just to see the fans come out and see the excitement around and see the former players, the way they feel about it, man, it's awesome. You know what I mean? It's just a great experience, and I love it.
We can't wait to see you guys play it. I know the fans can't wait to see the dunk contest tonight. And you have a prediction on who's going to win that?
I'm going with Redden Obasanjo, but please do not tell Dante Hall that, because he's going to be very upset with me. But I'm going with Redden Obasanjo.
This show is live, but I do think we also rerun it, and we've got something to show the fans. Here we go. Stay with us.
Buckle up, buckle up.
All right, Gary, Rodney, back to you.
Thank you, Jen. Looks like a lot of fun. I tell you, they may not win every game, but that's going to be a fun team to watch, I got a feeling.
Yeah, they really are. They're going to be exciting, Gary. They're going to push the floor, and, you know, he's brought a ton of excitement here already.
Yeah, and the women's team, too. They're looking good as well. Well, still to come on the program, we're going to be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information right there on the screen on how you can interact with us on Tider Insider TV. Go ahead and call in now. Phone lines are open at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider TV. We'll return right after this timeout. Alabama sophomore punter J.K. Scott was named the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week following his performance against UT. The second-year punter from Colorado put together 4 punts for 199 total yards on Saturday afternoon. You can just about add it up. That's almost 50 yards per punt, 49.8 to be exact. And he netted 44 yards on those 4 kicks, which is really what's important. Scott had 2 punts travel over 55 and twice pinned the ball inside the Volunteers' 10-yard line to help flip the field for Alabama. All right, it's time to take some phone calls and answer some emails. Rodney, right now the phones are lit up. First up tonight, Trey in West Blockton. Hey, Trey, how are you?
Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Halloween.
Thank you.
Preemptive strike on that one. Still a few days away, but just like last season, I'm going to go all Al Davis on you two. Just win, baby. I don't care what happens with the outside the SEC landscape or how well Ole Miss plays from here on out. I'm going to say Alabama controls its own destiny. I mean, say Ole Miss goes unblemished the rest of the way and they're the SEC champs. They still have those 2 losses, one of which will have come against Memphis. Not exactly a national title contender, and in my opinion, not a real threat to make the playoffs. Alabama, on the other hand, is going to have that 1 loss against in this scenario, the champions of the toughest conference, in the nation. So I think as long as Alabama plays at least comparably to the way that they're expected to play, and of course win the games, I think they're in that Final Four.
Well, Trey, you make a good point. I mean, I'll say this: if that scenario plays out, I don't know what's going to happen, but regardless, you're right. I mean, all they can do is take care of their own business. That's all they can do is keep winning. We know this. If they lose again, probably out of every scenario.
And there's also a possibility, too, Trey, to be honest with you. The SEC could be left out completely. It depends on what happens in some of the other conferences. I know you said you disregard that, but at the same time, I do think it's something that's legit. I think there's a possibility if Ole Miss were to win the SEC that the SEC could get left out.
But the bottom line is Alabama's just got to keep on winning. I mean, that's all that they can do. That's all they can control. By losing to Ole Miss, unfortunately, they did take their own destiny out of their hands, at least for now, unless Ole Miss loses another game. All right, let's go to Cedar Bluff and talk to Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne, how are you?
All right, how about yourself?
Very well.
I just want to know, I agree with Trey on everything about that, but I wanted to know if everything plays out as it should, hopefully Alabama get in there and take it off the way like we did last year. If Ole Miss comes out and loses a game, we should be set for the SEC West, and that would put us in the SEC championship. And I'm just wondering, Alabama just plays smash mouth football. But I wanted to know, in your opinion, how do we match up with LSU?
Well, I think good. I mean, Alabama's 6-3 against LSU since Saban came here. They won 4 in a row, of course, including the BCS championship game after the 2011 season when they lost the regular season game 9-6. So they're on a little bit of a roll. Having said that, I think LSU matches up well against Alabama too. I mean, these have all been close games for the most part, that BCS national championship game notwithstanding. But I think you'll see another down-the-wire matchup. That's my opinion, Rodney. I don't know what you think.
Well, I think when you look at them, I agree with Gary. I think there's a lot of similarities between the two, obviously. I mean, LSU's smash-mouth team as well offensively. And I think, one of the keys is going to be Brandon Harris, their quarterback. I think, he could make a difference in terms of his ability to move and throw, and he's kind of developing. So we'll kind of watch that. But, Gary, I think that Alabama has the better defense of these two teams. I do think LSU's extremely athletic and they're fast, but I do think Alabama has the better defense. And I think, in the end, that could be the difference.
Yeah, it's going to be a good ball game. We'll talk much more, of course, about it next week. All right, let's go to Demopolis and speak with Rusty. Hey, Rusty, what's going on?
Hey, old buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How y'all doing tonight?
Very well.
Good. My wife thinks that Jay Coker that he can spot his receivers better when the Tide is dressed in white with the red helmets, the red numbers, she says, everybody's eyes are different. And she seems to think that that's why the offense just really clicks so good. Is when Coker is having a good game, that they are all having a good game, and that he can just see better and spot the receivers better.
Well, Rusty, I may have tried to ask him about that. I've never thought about it. For whatever reason, I think the entire team is playing better on the road this year than they are at home. I prefer the white on white. I think it's the prettiest uniform between the two, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, he was 21 of 27
yeah,
this
pretty
week.
Good this past week.
21 of 27 for 247 yards. Now, he didn't have a touchdown, did have an interception, but no, that's pretty efficient, 21 of 27.
Indeed it is. But, hey, maybe something, if I get a chance, I'll ask him. Do you see white jerseys better than you see red jerseys? Crimson jerseys. Well, coming up, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information right there on the screen on how you can interact with us. We'll be right back with more Crimson Tide analysis on Tider Insider TV. Stay with us. It was a good weekend for Bama in the NFL. Look at Coop. Amari Cooper of the Raiders, 5 passes received for 133 yards, including that 52-yard touchdown where he broke a couple of ankles. With 33 receptions for 519 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season, he became the 5th rookie with at least 500 receiving yards in his first 6 games in NFL history. T.J. Yeldon was the star of Jacksonville's 34-31 win over the Bills, 115 yards rushing and a touchdown on 20 carries. Yeldon has cleared the 100-yard mark in 2 of his last 3 games. Plus, Julio Jones had a good game, and Mark Ingram did as well. All right, let's head back to the phone lines. Rodney, let's go to Coleman and talk to Justin. Hey, Justin.
Hey, guys. Big fan of the show. Y'all do a great job.
Thanks, man.
Mario Cristobal, the way I understand it, is a candidate for the Miami job, possibly. First of all, I think he's a great recruiter. But how do y'all feel like the job he's done with the offensive line? How would you grade the job he's done since he's been at Alabama?
Well, Justin, I'll give it to Rodney pretty quickly because I don't know that I'm qualified to gauge an offensive line coach. But I tell you this, I think overall he's done a good job. You're right, he's a fantastic recruiter. I think this year the offensive line, whether it's due to him or injuries or what have you, has not played as well probably as he would like them to play. But they've been good enough to get to 7-1.
Well, yeah, you have to look at 2012, and I know a lot of people were spoiled by that offensive line, but 3 of those guys were the greatest offensive linemen to play in school history here. They were certainly all outstanding players, 2 of them NFL first-round draft picks, and, they really didn't have guys ready to step in, and no school really does, to replace that kind of talent immediately, and I think they've had to develop some guys. They've had some injuries over the last couple of years. If you know, Ryan Kelly's been injured each of the last 3 years, including this year, as he was injured last week, Gary. And but I think you're looking at some really young players. You're talking about Cam Robinson, still just sophomore. He's banged up. Coach Saban did talk about that last week. Ross Pierce-Baker, the left guard, is only a redshirt freshman. And, the 2 guys starting, Shank Taylor, this is his first year to start. Dominic Jackson, his first year to start. So, really, they don't have a lot of experience on the offensive line. And I think, because of that, I think it's really difficult to say, really what kind of job Mario Cristobal has done. Now, he has a reputation as an excellent coach. I know you think he's a fantastic recruiter, and he is, but he also has a good reputation as a coach.
And Jackson's status for LSU could be up in the air. Coach Saban saying following practice today that they're going to have to continue to evaluate that ankle, but he wasn't sure about his status going forward. All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to CB. Hey, CB, how are you?
Fine, man. A little slow motion, this rain and everything. Y'all doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Look, all these coaches, vacancies and firings, and of course, I'm surprised somebody ain't done tried to capture Mr. Smart. What about old Kiffin? Y'all think they might try to snatch him? What do you think about the coaches?
I don't know. If you're not losing some assistant coaches at some point, it's probably a bad sign. Saban's staff has been in demand since he's been here. He's always replaced good coaches with other good coaches. How it'll shake out, we'll just have to see. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some turnover following the season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's always that talk, but really it's too early to say right now, CB. A lot of times at this time of the year, you start hearing those rumors, and they kind of seem to have some sort of validity to them if you just kind of listen to the rumor mill, but then all of a sudden you look at the end of the year and, you have your staff still intact. So I think really the best thing to do is kind of wait and see how it plays out.
All right, real quickly, Keith in Maplesville, we got to go fast. What's up, man?
Hey, Gary, just wanted to check on something to see if Coach Johnson lets you watch any of the practices. If so, which freshman should we look forward to be doing pretty good this year? I love the show, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. I think all three of them are talented. And but I tell you, Dazon Ingram, I think, is the guy to watch. The freshman point guard from Theodore. He's about 6'6". Can handle, go with either hand, can get his own shot. Great facilitator of the offense. I think he is a guy that wouldn't shock me if he started. So I'd say watch
he's very
Dazon
talented.
Ingram.
That's why he was highly recruited. That Kentucky went after him to some degree, and yeah, he's an outstanding prospect, Gary, and certainly need him and his ability.
But I think Brandon Austin and Dante Hall are good players, too. I think those three freshmen are going to do well. All right, still to come on the program, and thanks for the phone calls, by the way. We don't have picks this week since the Tide is off. We'll do that next week for Alabama and LSU, but we'll take a look at the rest of the SEC coming up this weekend. And look at that beautiful evening here in Tuscaloosa. Even though we've had some rain, it looks nice now. We'll be back after this. And once again this week, our dress shirts are provided by the Locker Room on the University Strip in Tuscaloosa. Alabama tradition since 1964 and home of the original elephant wear. So if you want to check out the original elephant wear and all of their other great labels, pay them a visit on the University Strip, or you can shop online at locker-room.biz. Either way, you can get the finest in men's clothing, and they have a ladies' line of clothing as well. Rush and Mr. Gatewood and the folks there at the Locker Room will treat you like family. That's why they have been so successful for so many years. All right, Bama's off this week, Rodney, but there's an entire SEC schedule of games and some big ones. Georgia and Florida, the winner of that one, certainly going to have the inside track to Atlanta from the East. In fact, if Florida wins it, it'll just about be wrapped up. A&M and Carolina, suddenly a big game for Kevin Sumlin. He better not lose that one. Auburn, could they pull a surprise against Ole Miss? Arkansas will have no problems with Tennessee Martin. Vanderbilt at Houston, that's an interesting game. The Commodores going out there to face the undefeated Cougars. And, of course, Tennessee at Kentucky. That's going to do it for the show tonight. If you missed any of the program or if you want to catch it again, we'll have a replay tonight at 10:30. Also, it'll be available at WVUA23.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. This has been Tider Insider TV. Have a good evening, everyone.